Hey Scotty, did you see? We got the new Wilds of Eldraine products. Yeah, I know, I'm really excited. So which one do you want to start with? Okay, let's go with that one. Hello everyone and welcome to yet another one of our Precon unboxings and overview videos. Thank you Scotty for that wonderful intro. And yeah, today we are having a look at the second and last commander deck called Virtue and Valor for the Wilds of Eldraine. Buff up your creatures, crush your foes. So for anybody who's new to our series, what we usually do in these videos is we look at the precon with the given commander, analyze the cards that are within, read them out, and see how they synergize overall in the structure of the deck as it comes straight out of the box, and then give you also a list of cards that we think are best to remove and which ones to keep for when you want to upgrade, and score it out of 10 compared to the other precons that we've seen before and overall in quality. So that's it. Other than that, Virtue and Valor is going to be an interesting deck, and it's going to be an aura-centered deck with Ellivere of the Wild Court at its helm. It includes a 100-card deck with only 10 new cards, a deck box, 10 double-sided token cards, a foil-etched display commander, a life wheel, the strategy insert, and the reference card, and you also get the collector booster sample pack. And yeah, we've already gone and have unboxed the previous one. As usual, we look at the bottom, we see it's printed in Belgium. It tends to make it better for us as a whole because it tends to have less bending. So without further ado, let's rip into it and start the review. Well, this one did rip properly. Let's see, what do we get? Usually there's a writing here. Okay, so unfortunately the writing here didn't rip properly. It says Squire for hire. And then the box opens up as such, and you get the contents. You get a little paper envelope, and then you get the deck proper, and that's it for the box. So the paper envelopes actually contains the deck box. So it's a very interesting way that they've done away with most of the bigger packaging. I actually prefer the more compact view. So you get the little deck box with your commander in the front, and also I must say the image is so cute. They're so adorable with the creatures there. And then we get the spin down life wheel and the collector booster sample pack, and then after that you get the cardboard cutouts for counters should you need them, and it opens up and you get the pamphlet and the deck. So everything is contained inside of here, and I will have a look at this. I really love these pamphlets. They're really wonderful. Always great to get some new flavor and also to understand how the deck works. So as you will be able to see here, you see Ellivere of the Wild Court and a little bit of background story for Ellivere. And then on the back, a little bit more of information about Virtue and Valor, playing the deck, and the commander rules. As usual, if you want, you can just pause and read up whatever you enjoy. And smells amazing as usual. Okie dokie. So before we start into the deck, we're gonna have a look at the collector's booster sample pack. You're going to get one token, and then one Enchanted Tales, and then one alternate frame card. Can be any of the alternate frame cards, but it is only with a normal foiling. So we get Makeover Montage, we get the Regal Bunnycorn. Oh, I like this card. That's actually really good. It's gonna be great for commander. And then we get the Dragon Mantle in foil. Very beautiful cards. I think this is actually a really good card, and definitely one for the commander decks. And then we'll have a look at our commander deck proper. Okie doke, so let's have a look at Ellivere of the Wild Court. So this is a 4/4 human knight that costs 4, and it's a legendary creature, of course. And whenever Ellivere of the Wild Court enters the battlefield or attack, you get to create a virtuous roll. Token attached to target creature you control is another creature, so it cannot attach it to it. And also look at the amount of animals. That's so cute, and creatures. That's just wonderful. And yeah, so the virtuous roll, what it does is the target creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control, and whenever an enchanted creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. And see, this already is something that I was saying with the previous deck, the Beta Minion. that the commander should have had actually, rather than trigger, because it didn't make any sense. So this is very nice. What you want to do is have a lot of enchantments in play to be able to buff up, have a lot of creatures that deal damage to players to be able to draw cards, and just overall you want to keep your commander alive as much as possible because the rolls are attached whenever it attacks, so, or enters the battlefield, but the attacking part is the best. So that's really good commander. Then we get Gilwain, Casting Director. This is a 2/3 human bard. It's the general, costs 1 generic and Selesnya. It's a legendary creature, human bard, and whenever it or another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you choose one. Either create a royal role token or sorcerer role token or a monster token attached to that creature. So this is nice. So you always allow 4 creatures to enter battlefield with a role attached to it. The royal role gives a ward 1. Sorcerer role gives a scry whenever it attacks, and of course 1/1. And monster role gives a 1/1 and trample. So very good roles, very good synergy with the commander as well, because of course the more enchantments you have, the more you can buff up your creature. Then you get the rules from Magic the Gathering insert, and then we look at the tokens. We have our thick commander, and we get pirate and a human soldier, pirate and Pegasus, pirate and human. Very beautiful art. Fairy, human, fairy, and sapperling. Okay, that's interesting. Fairy and sapperling once more. Fairy and sapperling. Fairy and sapperling. Copy and royal and virtues. Then copy and monster and virtues. Now that's a little bit annoying. You only get 2 virtuous cards. I would have put a little bit more, maybe on the back side of. I know they always try and limit it to 10, but yeah, as I said, I would have put a bit more royal. No, virtuous roll, sorry, because yeah, your commander is going to be hopefully pasting them everywhere, but hey, we'll see how it goes. Then we start with the 10 new cards. Liberated Livestock is a 4/6 cat, bird, ox, so it's the whole entire farm, and it's a 4/6 for 6. When it dies, you create a cat. That's a 1/1, a bird. That's a 1/1 and flying, and a 2/4 ox creature. And for each of those tokens, you may put an aura card from your hand on or graveyard onto the battlefield attached to it. The second part is actually pretty good, but it is a bit expensive to play. I don't know if I would keep this. If you can ramp to it, absolutely. If you can build the deck to ramp, absolutely. But if the deck doesn't have a lot of ramp, it's a fairly expensive for very little, because by turn 6 you're gonna have a lot of auras already in play, and yeah, the best ones are already going to be hopefully attached to most of the better ones. It would have been better if it was from the graveyard. Now we get the Ox Drover. Is a 4/4 human peasant, costs 4, has vigilance and cannot be blocked by oxen. Whenever Ox Drover enters the battlefield or attacks target opponent, creates a 2/4 white ox creature token and you draw a card. Yeah, no, this is not good enough. You're basically allowing your opponents to get free tokens that have fairly good toughness and to draw a card for yourself. But again, the draw card is more on Ellivere. I'd rather be doing that. And even though this can be blocked by oxen, it's still putting bodies on your opponent's board. That's not something I want to do, so that's definitely not a card that I would really like to play. Then we get Songbird's Blessing, cost 4. It's an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Whenever enchanted creature attacks, you reveal top cards from your library until you reveal an aura. You may put that card onto the battlefield. If you don't, you can put it in hand and put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. Okay, so this is good. This is actually very good. It doesn't force you to put the aura necessarily on a creature. Maybe you already have a creature in hand that you want to put the aura to. At least you get to put the aura either you're already in play for 4, and there are some really good auras, or you just keep it in hand. Very nice. It's kind of like a half tutor that tutors the top cards. I like it. That's a good one. Then we get Unfinished Business. It's a sorcery. It costs 5. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then return up to 2 target and or equipment cards from graveyard auras and equipment cards from graveyard to the battlefield attached to that creature. This is extremely good, because if creatures die, the auras go into the bin themselves, and what ends up happening is this one, you bring one of the best creatures back, and then also the 2 best auras that are in your graveyard. So that's really good sorcery. I like that. Very good synergy so far. I must say these 2 are kind of iffy, but these 2, the enchantment and the sorcery, better. And we get Giant Inheritance, which is an enchantment aura, costs 5, and it gives +4/+5 to ensure a creature, and whenever this creature attacks, you create a monster roll token attached to up to one target attacking creature. Okay, that's really good. And remember, you can only have one roll attached to creature. Therefore, if you already have the virtuous roll and you put a monster roll, it will kill the virtuous roll. So you got to remember that. And when it is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, return it to its owner's hand. So it keeps coming back over and over and over. It is a very good one. You give him +5/+5 for 5, and on top of that, Trample, which synergizes with Ellivere's second ability. Yeah, absolutely great enchantment. Absolutely would love to play it. Then we get Knick-Knack Oof, which is a 1/1 Oof that costs X and green. Whenever it enters the battlefield, it has X +1/+1 counters on it. And when it enters the battlefield, you reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put any number of aura cards with mana value X or less from among them onto the battlefield, then put all cards revealed this way that weren't on top put onto the battlefield at the bottom of your library in random order. So basically, the more you pump into this, the better it becomes, effectively allowing you to put all the other cards that you want in there. It doesn't put them in the graveyard, it puts them onto the bottom of the library, so it's still fairly good if you don't want to get milled out. Yeah, definitely keep. It's a decent card and good interaction with enchantments. Then we get the Lone Crafted Fawn. It's a 3/3 Satyr Druid. It costs 3. When it enters the battlefield, you may discard one or more land cards. When you do, return up to that many target non-land permanent cards from a graveyard to your hand. This is okay if you have a lot of ramp in play already for the end, but the thing is, by then you won't have a lot of well, hopefully a lot of cards in hand. And yeah, I don't know. I think this is maybe a not keep so far, but we'll see. Whoa, okay, we get the Timber Paladins, a 1/1 for 2 artifact creature knight. As long as it has enchanted by exactly 1 aura, it has base power and toughness 3/3. Okay, and as long as it's enchanted exactly 2 auras, it has base power and toughness 5/5 and vigilance. Are you kidding me? It costs only 2. And as long as it is enchanted by 3 or more auras, it has base power and toughness 10/10, vigilance and trample. Yeah, this is amazing. This is a huge creature. I counted the fact that you have like auras that give it hexproof and shroud and so many other things, and it's so easy to buff it up. Yeah. Of course, it's going to be super easy to get 3 auras onto this, even by turn 3. Yeah, depending on how you play the auras, maybe turn 4, you already have a 10/10. Absolutely great card. Then we get a Johnny's Chosen. This is a creature cast soldier 3/3 for 4. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 2/2 white creature token, and then if that enchantment is an aura, you may attach it to the token. So this is very nice. I like this. It's allowing you to create bodies on the floor. And again, I don't know if we're going to go down the route of tokens too much, because it's not necessary. In the end, auras are the important thing. It doesn't matter how strong the creatures are, well, even though Timber Paladin is just insane. Because in the end, all you're doing is, even if it's a 2/2, by the time you pump like 2 or 3 hours on it and you do Ellivere, it's going to be insanely big. So it doesn't really matter. So it's always good to get tokens. So that's a good card. Then we get Angelic Destiny, which is an aura enchantment. It costs 4, and the creature becomes an angel, basically. It gets +4/+4, flying, and first strike, and is an angel in addition to its other types. And if that creature dies, you turn this card to your own hand, basically making it one, like it's so long as you can play it and don't discard it, it always comes back to your hand, and the creature is going to become huge. Love it. Love it. And we see one of the cards that was in the Commander Masters Precon deck, Archons of Sun's Grace. Of course, this deck is much cheaper than Commander Masters one. This is a 3/4 for 4. It's an Archon, has flying, lifelink. Pegasus creatures you control have lifelink, and then whenever enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you get to create a 2/2 Pegasus creature token with flying. And see, in this deck, it makes much more sense because it's a flying creature that you can just buff with other auras. You can give them lifelink because of the first ability, and on top of that, with Ellivere, you get to draw cards, so this is a lot more synergy than the other one. Then we get Austere Command. This is a sorcery that costs 6, and it does very good board wiping. You choose 2, either destroy all artifact or enchantments or creatures with mana value 3 or less, or 4 or greater. And yeah, this is a great removal, and it's part of my white decks alongside Farewell as a board wipe. So it's definitely a great card. So far, very well pleased with this deck. We had a rocky start at the beginning with the first 2 cards, but then it's just picked up and picked up. Now we get the Celestial Archon, a 4/4 Archon enchantment creature that costs 5, and it has Bestow for 7. That's expensive to do. So it's a flying first strike creature, and then if you've bestowed, so if you've basically, this becomes an enchantment, an aura to attach it to a creature if you pay 7, then instead the enchanted creature gets +4/+4 and flying and first strike. Now this is more on the expensive side of auras. You don't necessarily need it. Even if you were to ramp a lot, my ramp strategy would be to go wide, because the auras just take care of themselves, especially with Ellivere's idea. So realistically, yeah, it's something that maybe it's worth just casting for a 4/4 with flying a first strike, and that's it. But if you have better auras, maybe this is a cut. It's a hard one because it's a good one, but it's really expensive, even if you do have a lot of ramp. So next up we have the Daybreak Coronet, which is classic aura. It costs 2 white, enchanted creature with another aura attached to it, so it has to have another aura. And then an enchanted creature gets +3/+3 and has first strike, vigilance, and lifelink, which is insanely good. And seeing as the rolls are auras as well, this is not going to be too hard to cast and make insane value. So the auras here are very good. Now we get the Eidolon of Countless Battles. This is an enchantment creature spirit that costs 3 with 2 white pips. Then you can bestow it for 4, and then it or the enchanted creature and the enchanted creature each get +1/+1 for each creature you control, and +1/+1 for each aura you control. So therefore, the wider you go and the more auras you put into the battlefield, either this or the enchanted creature grow significantly. And this is insane. This is an insanely good card, great synergy, and the bestow cost is not as crazy as the Celestial Archon, so absolutely amazing card. Now we get the Core Spirit Dancer. It's a 0/2/4/2, and it gets +2/+2 for each aura attached to it, and whenever you cast an aura spell, you may draw a card. So this is draw engine. This is the first draw engine that we see. Extremely good card. It's gonna grow up to be huge really quickly. Now we get the Mantle of the Ancients. It costs 5, it's an aura, and whenever it enters the battlefield, return any number of target aura and or equipment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to the enchanted creature, and the enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each aura and equipment attached to it. This is an amazing one because it returns any number of both equipment and aura cards back into play. Yeah, absolutely must play. It's kind of like a replenish, but for auras onto a specific creature. Absolutely a must play. Wonderful card. Then we get the Rome Cloak Giant. It's a 7/7 vigilance for 7. It has cast off as an adventure. It's a sorcery, destroy all non-giant creatures. Now this is one of those that is here as a flavor, I think, but is not really a great idea. This is something I would remove. There are better board wipes, and having a 7/7 for 7 vigilance is always great, but then again, the name of the game is not play huge creatures, but pump up your creatures with auras, so definitely something that I would not necessarily play and remove. Then we have Retether. This is a 4-cost sorcery. Return each aura card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Only creatures can be enchanted this way. Wonderful card. Absolutely great. And yeah, it's another replenish for auras. Absolutely a must keep. Oh, Shall I? Voice of Planet is a 3/4 angel that costs 4 flying. Your planeswalkers you control and other creatures you control have hexproof. And then for 6, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Now this is again off theme. Yes, if you need to give a lot of hexproof to your creatures, it's great to have, but if you want to synergize more, I would rather just keep this out. But still, it's not a bad creature. Like, this is definitely a very good creature, so don't get me wrong. Then we get the Starfield Mystic, another one that was reprinted in Commander Masters. There's a 2/2 human cleric that costs 2. Each enchantment spells you cast costs 1 generative less to cast, and whenever enchantment you control is put into graveyard from the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on Starfield Mystic. Yeah, this is extremely good. It makes all enchantment spells cost 1 less, and of course, should you lose an enchantment for whatever reason, it grows up, and also you can replenish those enchantments back. Then we get the Sun Titan, which is always making a return. Unfortunately, it's a 6/6 for 6, has vigilance, enters the battlefield or attacks You return target permanent card, mana value 3 or less from graveyard to the battlefield. Now, this is a good synergistic thing here. I get it why they put it in this deck, because you want to return small cards, but there are better effects for cheaper that can return all other permanents. But still, I understand why you put it. This is something that I would cut for sure with to upgrade. Then Timely Ward is a 3-caster aura enchantment. You may cast Timely Ward as though you had flash if it targets a commander. Oh, okay, so it's the commander equivalent. Okay, and then it gives indestructible to enchanted creature. Very, very good. I like it. It's always great to give indestructible to any creature, and on top of that, if you can cast it as flash to protect your commander, it's even better. I really love this, and yeah, of course there are better auras and better protection auras, so if you get those you can remove it, but it's a decent card. Tithe Taker is a 2/1 human soldier. It costs 2. During your turn, spells your opponents cast cost 1 generic more to cast, and abilities your opponents activate cost 1 generic more to activate unless they're mana abilities. And then it's Afterlife. When this creature dies, you create a 1/1 white black and spirit creature token with flying. This is more of a tax on your opponents, not a necessity in this deck, and definitely a remove. Umbra Mystic is a 2/2 human wizard with 3 that allows for auras attached to permanents you control to have totem armor. Sorry, this is actually really good. Totem armor is wonderful because if the creature was to die, you can choose one of the auras to be, sacked instead, and it doesn't get any damage. Yeah, and if it's destroyed in any way, shape, or form. So I think it doesn't work for -1s or -X, whatever, but it will work for everything else. Yeah, I think it might be a really good one, especially because you can then Ellivere continuously and put them back. So yeah, this is a definitely keep. Then we get Rings of Wrath. The Winds of Wrath is a 5-cost source to destroy all creatures that are enchanted. They cannot be regenerated, and this is an amazing board wipe for your enchanted auras deck. Honestly, amazing. And just like the Fae deck, this has some great removals that are spot removals. Wonderful little deck so far. Bear Umber is an enchantment aura, costs 4. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has whenever this creature attacks and tap all lands you control, has totem armor, which means if enchanted creature will be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it and destroy this aura. Now, this is a very good one. It allows you to have 2 main phases, the first main phase, I mean, and therefore you can cast a lot more things. It's kind of like a ramp allowance, but anyway, it's just wonderful little aura that I would keep. Then we get the Island of Blossoms. This is a 2/2 enchantment creature spirit. It costs 4. This was reprinted in Commander Masters, and it was in the deck. And whenever Island of Blossoms or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you draw a card. Draw engine, amazing. Then we get the Verdant Embrace. This is an aura. It costs 5. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3 and has at the beginning of each upkeep you create a 1/1 green sapling token. Not that great. We already have better token generation, and so far I don't really care too much to have too much token generation because we have a lot of good base creatures that we just want to buff up with aura. So this is something that you would remove. It's not a bad one for sure. It's a good one. Then we get Indomitable Might, which costs 4. It's an aura, has flash as well, and enchanted creature gets +3/+3, and its creature's control may have it assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. Extremely good, and the fact that it stays into play, that's just wonderful. Yeah, absolutely a must keep. Then we get Sanctum Weaver, which is another reprint. It's an enchantment creature, Dryad 0/2 that costs 2. You tap to add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of enchantments you control. Very good. It was reprinted in Commander Masters. Absolutely wonderful for ramping in. Then we get Citizen Champion as a 1/3 for 3, as well reprinted in Commander Master. It has Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under control, you put a +1/+1 counter on this champion and you draw a card. Extremely good draw engine. Then we get Danitha Capuchin Paragon, which is a 2/2 human knight that costs 3. Was reprinted in Commander Masters, but not inside of the deck. Very good because it makes all aura equipment spells that you cast cost 1 generic less to cast, and it's just overall great. It has First Strike, Vigilance, and Lifelink. Should you have already too many of these kind of effects in play, and or if you have better creatures that do the same effects, then maybe you can cut this one up. But honestly, with the fact that it has First Strike, Vigilance, and Lifelink, and you can aura it, yeah, that's something I would just definitely keep. Then we get Rishkar's Expertise. Is a sorcery, costs 6. Draw equals cards to the greatest power among creatures you control. You may cast a spell with mana value 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. Not a good card because there are so many enchantments that allow us to have basically so much draw that you're just basically taking up a slot, and paying 6 for a 5 is not that great, so that's something that we remove. Then we get Enchanter's Presence, a great enchantment, costs 3. Whenever you cast, so you have to cast an enchantment spell, you draw a card. So this is another great draw engine for your deck. Very, very good. Then we go for Ethereal Armor, which is an aura. It costs 1 white. An enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control and has first strike. And now we start to see the power of auras. You see that even at the common slot, you have something so amazing and so powerful. That's definitely something that you want to keep. Then we get Generous Gift. This is a classic. We start to see some spot interactions. So far, we haven't seen any. Destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 elephant token. Actually, Stroke of Midnight in the current Wilds of Eldraine release is much better than this because it gives them a 1/1 instead. But yeah, it's there and it's good. There are very good removals. There are spot removals. I'm hoping to see some Source of Plowshares or Frost 2 Exile. We'll see. Then we get Sage's Reverie. It's a 4-cost aura enchantment, and when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card for each aura you control that's attached to a creature. Okay, so if you have one with 3 or 4, you can draw more cards. Not necessary because we have already good draw engines. And then enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each aura you control that's attached to a creature. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not a bad aura at all. There are better ones though. So yeah, it's really great for this. +1/+1. It's just like we're splitting hairs here because all these auras are extremely good and I'm struggling to find reasons to cut them. If you have much better aura than this one, then yeah, definitely cut it. But yeah, it's a great aura overall, so there it is. Spectral Steel. This is a 2-cost aura. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, and then for 2, exile it from your graveyard to return another target aura equipment card from your graveyard to your hand. There are better replenish effects for enchantments, and given +2/+2 it's not that great, so this is something that will cut, but still it's a decent synergy for the precon. Source of Plowshares. Exile target creature, its controller gains life equals to its power. A very good spot removal, and I'm happy to see it. Then we get Transcendent Envoy. This is a 1/2 that makes all your aura spells you cast cost 1 generic less to cast, and it costs 2. That's flying. I would keep definitely one of these two, Danatha or it, and then the other one, maybe all 3 as well. It depends on how you build your deck and how many very strong cards you have, but amazing cards in this deck. Wow, this deck has been great, honestly. Now we get Ancestral Mask. This is an aura. It costs 3. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 for each other enchantment on the battlefield. See, this one is better, funny enough, than the uncommon one, the Sage's Reverie, because that one is only for auras. This is for all enchantments, and it's +2/+2 on top of that. So yeah, if you have to choose one of the two, I would go for this one, but this is insanely good. Then we get Aura Gnarled. This is a 2/2 beast that costs 3 and creatures with power less than Aura Gnarled's power cannot block it, which is going to be really easy to buff up. And then it gets +1/+1 for each aura on the battlefield, which is even more. Wow, insane, great little card. Then we get Careful Cultivation. Costs 3. It's an aura, enchant artifact or creature, and as long as this enchantment permanent is a creature, then it gets +1/+3 and has tap to add 2 green. And then you have Channel, where you discard Careful Cultivation and you create a human bond creature with token with tap to add 1 green. I mean, this is okay. We have better ways to ramp into the deck, so this is something that you can remove from the deck safely. Then we get the Destiny Spinner. It's a 2/3 human that costs 2. I think this also was in a Commander Master's deck. And creatures and enchanted spells you control cannot be countered. So this is very good if you're playing in a table or against, people, if it's the usual groups that they're gonna have a lot of CDH encounters and control spells and decks like that, then it's a wonderful one. But realistically, if you know that the people that you play against don't play counters, or that many for that matter, except the occasional one, then yeah, definitely don't play this. And then for target line you control becomes an XX elemental creature with trample and haste until your turn with X the number of enchantments you control, and it's still a land. So this second part really synergizes with Ellivere's second part. It's a great one, but still, as I said, there are better effects. Yeah, even though you get an XX equal to with trample, it's really good, that part. but if you have better cards, cut it, otherwise keep it. Then we get Fertile Ground, which is a great aura for lands. An enchanted land is tapped for mana. Its control adds an additional 1 mana of any color. Good for ramp, but there are better effects. There are a lot of enchantment creatures and creatures overall that give better ramp, but should you need it, you have that. Then we get Canvas Transformation, cost 2. It's an enchantment aura. An enchanted creature loses all abilities and becomes a 3/3 elk, and then when it enters the battlefield, discard. Do you draw a card? Yeah, no. I mean, there are better interactions. I'd rather have Path to Exile than an enchantment aura. Yeah, you control the aura, so it still triggers on all the ones that count all the enchantments and auras that you control, but it is definitely something that I do not want in a deck that it has a lot of value and it's just very few cards. So this is one that's going to be an easy cut. Oh, Paradise Druid. And of course, this is a 2/1 Paradise Druid. Is an elf. It costs 2, and you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color, and it has hexproof as long as it's untapped. Not necessary for this deck. There are better ramps in the enchantment cards. And then we get Snake Umbra, cost 3. It's an aura. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has whenever this creature deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. So it's just like Ellivere, an extra. And it gets Totem Armor. Yep, definitely keep. Then we get Silver Ranger, a 1/1 Elf Scout Ranger. And whenever it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Again, it's a land fetcher. There are better cards at this slot, so you don't need it. Now you get Utopia Sprawl as an aura. You enchant a forest. It only costs 1. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you choose a color, and whenever enchanted forest is tapped for mana, its controller adds an additional mana of the chosen color. Again, it's very nice. These enchantments, like Fertile Ground, they're very nice if you're playing like 3 colors, but for 2 colors, you don't really need this. Even if you don't have dual lands, and if you were just to play half and half, you know, plains and forests, you will still be fine. So these are not as necessary. Then we get Warbriar's Blessing. This is a 2-caster aura. It's kind of like a 5 spell, because whenever it enters the battlefield, enchanted creature fights up to 1 to target creature you don't control and gets +0/+2. Not great. There are better enchantments, but if you need to, yeah, not bad. Then you get Jukai Naturalist. This is another one that I would keep. This is a 2/2/4/2, has lifelink, and enchantment spells you cast cost 1 generic last to cast. Very, very good card. Absolutely keep. Then we get Polen Bright Wings that cost 6. It's an aura. Enchanted creature has flying, and when enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, you create that many green sapling creature tokens. This is more of a token generator. So if you were to go with the deck wide and trying to generate as many tokens and then put as many auras on them and copy those auras, then yeah, but it's not necessary. Given that flying is great, but it costs 6. Yeah, the second part is really good, but you have a lot of very good creatures, and enchantment creatures that synergize with auras and enchantments are aplenty. So yeah, this is something you can easily cut. Now we get Siona, Captain of the Pillies, which is a 2/2 human soldier. It costs 3. When it enters the battlefield, you look at the top 7 cards of your library, you may reveal an aura card from among them, put it in your hand, and put the rest of the bottom of your library in any order. 7 is quite a lot, so it allows you to filter through and get whatever really good aura you need. There are some really, really good auras in there. And whenever an aura you control becomes attached to a creature you control, you create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. There's a combo with this card and another aura, so this is a really good card. In general, you tutor the top 7 cards, and you get to create tokens over and over, so that's really, really great. I would keep this one. Then we get Arcane Signet, and this is a classic. Soul Ring, of course. I wonder if these are going to be the only 2, because you really don't need that much in this kind of deck. Command Tower, of course. Crozen Verge, Myriad Landscape, Vidugazi, the City Tree. Okay, this allows you to create green sapling creature token. Again, the token part is there, but it's not really synergistic with the main moving piece of the deck, so it's not necessary. Then we get some of the Wilds of Eldraine cards. This is Tanglespan Lookout. This is a 3-caster Satyr. There's a 2/3. Whenever an aura enters the battlefield under your control, you draw a card. There are better draw effects, and after a certain point, because of the rare ones that we saw, you just gotta cap out, because otherwise you just have too many. And yeah, this is one of them. Like, if you don't have the like, I mean, you already have the other ones, but should you not have the other ones that come in the Commander Masters deck, then yeah, you can play this, but otherwise they're better, or just cut it all together. Then we get Sir Armon the Redeemer. This is a 4/4 human knight that costs 5. And when Sir Armon the Redeemer enters the battlefield, you create a monster role token attached to another creature you control and equip. Oh, enchanted creatures you control get +1/+1. I mean, this is an anthem for enchanted creatures. I don't know. I mean, it's really, really, really good for this deck as a precon, but if I'd have to, maybe I'd cut this one out because there are better creatures out there. Just because it only gives, like, yeah, it gives a monster roll, which is great. And then it is, yeah, I mean, it's an anthem roll. Why not? Yeah, let's keep it in. It's an anthem roll. And then we get 15 forests and 14 plains. So what should we say about this deck and reviewing it? Yeah, this is an amazingly good deck. I am extremely pleased by the quality of the synergies of the deck. And whenever a deck is this good, I tend to try and look at the different moving parts. So we have enough draw synergies. We definitely have plenty of enchantment aura synergies, and we have some extremely good ones in here. But we have enough draw synergies and pretty good ramp as a base precon, okay? And even the ones that make it cost less, so that's extremely good. Then you get extremely good auras, and there are very few that I would cut out. And enchantments, same thing. Of course, there are some that I would add that would allow me to either ramp or draw or etc, etc, etc. I think the sorcery aspect, maybe I would remove a couple of the cards from the deck and focus on adding some of the better sorceries. But yeah, like the Winds of Wrath and Austere Command, and these three are really great. I would add a couple more of the better ones. Spot removal and protection, I think this is what's lacking the most in this deck. Spot removal and protection. You don't necessarily need a lot of artifacts. Most of the name of the game is in the enchantment slot, so you don't really need it, and you have a lot of ramp, so that's fine. The mana base is, well, the precon mana base is garbage. It's become garbage now, unfortunately. So other than that, this is an extremely strong deck because of the way that it is. Even small common auras are so impactful and so freaking good that you don't really need like to have all the insanely good ones to be really on the board, synergistic and just dealing a lot of damage. Now there are quite a lot of these ones that give, you know, trample or flying or ways to hit the face of your opponent. And even if they don't, like I think I've seen like 3 or 4, but even if you didn't, still you're building up your creatures so easily, so big that after a while you will eventually hit your opponents in the face, and that's just gonna draw you more cards per each enchanted creature you control that does that. Yeah, wow, I think this is gonna be the first 8 out of 10 that I'm gonna give on all precon decks. And this is because, I mean, you just need to fix a couple of things, and there are, like, as a precon, it already comes with all the tools. And the funny thing is, I think there are 16 to 18 cards that come in the Commander Masters precon deck, which is much more expensive. It's twice plus then some, much more expensive than this deck, that are synergistic with this deck. They're coming here, and then I hope you didn't buy the Commander Masters Enduring Enchantments, because all you need to do is buy the singles that are good and reprinted in that set, and I think I don't know, it's like 6, 7 of them. Put them in this deck, and then you're fine. So you don't need everything. It's a great deck. That's the wonderful thing. Like, I honestly do believe that this is a wonderful deck. It requires very little tinkering to just be strong, and I think just out of the box is going to be a powerhouse. Now let me know in the comments down below if I missed something, if you think about something that I didn't think about, or your opinions overall on the deck. I always read and reply to every single one of our comments, and if you're in the same boat as I usually was when I was trying to understand how I will go about upgrading these kind of decks, what are the best cards, because, you know, I've just told you what to cut, but what are actually the best cards? And it's quite a lot of cards in Magic the Gathering to figure everything out. Well, you don't have to worry. I'm gonna leave a link to a video right here where you'll be able to find the upgrade guide to this deck, the full upgrade guide, non-tethered, where you'll be able to see all the best cards that you can put and swap into the deck to make it amazing. And I hope to see you next time on our next video. Until then, from Scotty and I, we wish you a lovely day, a blessed day. Be good, be kind, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!